Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to the Wrestle Buddy podcast. I'm your host, as always, Andy, and got a familiar face and a new face for you today. We've got Nick. How we doing, Nick?
I'm good, mate. Good week.
And
Super
we've got
excited.
Wrestle Buddy. Oh, yeah, always good to have you, mate, as always. And we've got Wrestle Buddy's own Inspector Clouseau, Chinwag Dan.
Hey, how are we doing, lads? I'm actually at home for once when this is being done, so I can actually be here.
I know. It's nice to see you,
Mate,
mate. It's really good.
It's nice to be here.
So, first of all, what did we think of this week's wrestling in general, guys? Nick, what did you think this week? I thought it was quite a slow week myself, apart from the obvious announcement of a pay-per-view for us in the UK. But I suppose if you're a US fan, you kind of just, it's not really a lot happened, has it?
Nah, like I said, not a lot happened this week. The debut on Dynamite was really underwhelming. I mean, Raw was actually a pretty good show. I thought this week's Raw was the Raw we should have got after Mania, which I really enjoyed. But, I mean, Dynamite was great, except for the ending, which was a little bit, who the hell is this guy? To say the least. But other than that, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the Texas Death Match tonight.
Okay, what about you, Dan? What did you think about this week in general?
Yeah, I think overall it was a pretty slow week. I mean, obviously, news that a premium live event is coming to the UK is great because God knows it feels like we've been left in the shadows for however long of getting a major event, obviously. However,
do you know what, mate? I'll tell you, I was more relieved than anything else when I found out they were doing it, because I seen that they announced they're doing a Saudi show at the end of September, and I thought, oh no, you've screwed us again.
I was fully expecting it just to be like, hey, guess what? We're adding a third or fourth Saudi show. But hey, getting one over here is really cool.
It's not just cool. I mean, I was at SummerSlam in '92. I went with my parents. So this is the first SummerSlam. This is the first big show since '92 that we've got, and that is saying something. There's a lot of...
And that's the thing.
Hi, Dad.
But yeah, I mean, that's been all really cool. I guess overall, like you said, the most recent Raw, probably the Raw we should have got after Mania. NXT 2.0 continues to confuse the living hell out of me.
That's because it's a terrible product, Dan.
Yes, it
is.
Yes. And then, like I said,
terrible product.
I think the most recent Dynamite, pretty much great across the board, except for that last bit, really. And really, I know a lot of people have been talking about being disappointed. I feel like I was more just confused than anything else.
Do you know what, right? One thing I want to say about AEW, I feel like they cut the nose off to spite the face, right? Because, you said it before we come on here, Nick, and, something I always say is the wrestling is so good. But because they continue to compare themselves with WWE in whatever way it is, whether it's signing old stars, whether it's doing this, people expect the same type of entertainment value that you'll get in WWE with the kinds of story, with the kind of outlandish things that they do. Where I feel like if AEW try to be what they are, a great wrestling company, it would be better off for them.
Well, yeah, this is always the discussion that really comes down to, because I think the real strength they have is in providing a true alternative product, i.e. being distinctly different. I think also the point of contention that comes with that, though, and maybe this can be like some other long-form discussion people can have, because God knows we probably don't have enough time to do it here, is WWE has controlled the market for so long that there comes a certain expectation of what people are going to get from TV wrestling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you go into that and you don't get that WWE thing from a TV wrestling product, that turns a certain amount of people off. I don't know how people feel about that point, but
well, I just think it's one of them. If they focus, Nick, isn't it, on what they're trying to achieve and put on these great matches and stuff like that, it may take a bit of time to build it up, but they will get there in the end. Where I feel like if they keep trying to focus on what they are at the moment and the way that they're going, they're just going to kind of stay in that limbo, because they're kind of confused of what they want to be.
Well, that's the thing. When AEW first launched, everybody was like, oh, it's a real wrestling company again. It's a show that's all about the in-ring product. It's like they've got the roster at AEW is so deep now that they've run to the point where people are getting lost in the shuffle. And I think Tony Khan is so worried about the way he is viewed. The guy can't take criticism. That every time he gets criticized in any way, he backpedals and tries to reform the company into what people expect, as opposed to what it should be. AEW is supposed to be a purist wrestling product. That's why we watch it. We watch it because the matches are kick-ass. Right? Whereas WWE is the all-round entertainment product. We watch it because we want to have a laugh and we want to be entertained.
Yeah.
AEW, as you said, Andy, they need to keep to their own strategy. They need to be the wrestling company. They're not there for sports entertainers. They're there to wrestle.
No. And Dan, let me ask you this question, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at the moment, obviously, we know Tony Khan's purchased Ring of Honor. He's had Samoa Joe Ring of Honor title on AEW TV. Do you think that's the right move, or do you not think it's the right move and he should use the wrestlers that he's got swelled in the back to do that and just have them stick to the one promotion?
So it really comes, I think for me, it really comes down to what the intention is. And really what I've seen the intention being is that the ROH that they've purchased is going to act like a kind of subsidiary of AEW. So I've heard a lot of people saying like it's going to act as like, I think the best,
NXT.
The best example I can probably use is like in American sports, you have like, for example, like baseball, you have the minor leagues, so like AAA baseball, which then
so like in England,
they go
with
from, it's like the championship before the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
If that makes sense. So a lot of people are saying that it's going to be like the proving ground for lots of the younger talent they have there. And if you look at AEW's young roster, like Daniel Garcia, Lee Moriarty, the kind of the stack like that.
Wheeler Yuta.
Wheeler Yuta. They fit ROH's entire brand perfectly. They fit what ROH was back in 2002.
But the problem they've got though is, do you not think by having the championships of Ring of Honor on the channels, on the AEW programming and stuff like that, is going to devalue that championship? Does it just feel like it's kind of like if you're an AEW fan, and you're seeing the Ring of Honor Championship being defended on AEW TV, what is the reason for you to then go and watch Ring of Honor when they found it, because you're just going to watch the AEW show to watch it?
So
why watch Ring of Honor when the TVs have been, the titles are being defended on AEW on a weekly basis?
So I don't know exactly what their strategy would be. I would, coming from my kind of point and my experience of how these things normally run, the reason you would do it is to establish the tie between the two, i.e. these two are connected products within the same umbrella. So you're going to have ROH titles defended on AEW. I think about it the same as, when WWE had that thing where they started trying to push the NXT title onto being being on WrestleMania cards.
When Kevin Owens was champion, for example.
Yeah, it's almost kind of creating its own prestige by look, your title's being defended on the main product show.
But do you know if you're going to do that? I mean, obviously you haven't got a TV program just yet. Let me read this out first from Jim. It's got a good point. All the instant gratification they're trying to give their fans will bite them in the ass further down the road that when they aren't focusing on growing a broader audience. Very, very true, Jim. And that's why I said that, instead of, at the end of the day, it's like me going and making a drink now, say, for instance, and saying, right, I'm going to be Coca-Cola. And it's like, well, you're never going to be Coca-Cola. So what can I do? And then you've got to ask yourself, what can I do differently to make a brand that's something else? And obviously you've got Pepsi or whatever, you know what I mean? There's a way of doing stuff where, I always say that Pepsi and Cola live hand in hand. Do you know what I mean? There's enough room for two big hitters, but they've got to be a bit different and offer something new. Would you ever go down the route, Nick, of a cross-promotional championship? Just one that could be defended on both shows, which will kind of try and get that link between both shows without devaluing each show.
I think that's a really good idea. I mean, at the moment with them defending, I understand why they put the title on Joe. Minoru Suzuki was only over in town for a short period of time, and Tony Khan wants to get all of the belts onto his guys so we can then focus on building the product. But having a championship that crosses over, like Joe talked in a press conference the other week just after he signed about how he wants to unify the Ring of Honor and the AEW championships, that's probably a good idea. Ring of Honor, Tony Khan has bought it, and he can say that he wants it to be its own product as much as he wants, but it is effectively going to become the NXT of AEW. It's going to become, as you said before, Dan, it's the minor leagues where he's going to train up younger stars to become bigger stars on the AEW television show.
Yeah, that seems to be the intention from the press releases.
Yeah. One thing I've got to ask though, Dan. Sorry, go on, Nick.
No, having a championship that crosses over both boundaries not only breaks down the wall for the fans between the two products, but it allows casual fans to go, what's Ring of Honor? Maybe I'll go and check this out. I know the title's being defended in AEW, but if this is joint promotional...
Interesting.
Because, I mean, this is one way of thinking about it, but I think given the way they've positioned it, potentially it could look like the pure title could be a route for that. Now, whether or not that's the best introduction, because obviously it comes with its own rule set and it comes with things like that, but it's something that gives it its own identity. What I was thinking is potentially if you're looking at a cross-promotional title, something like, I don't know if we have any, if you guys are that well-versed in New Japan, but the Never Openweight, where it is literally anyone can go for it. It exists purely within. It's like, doesn't matter who you are, you can challenge for it. And it's just basically...
the Never Openweight title's literally there as a star-making belt.
Yeah, it is literally there to be like, look, you can just have the best hard-hitting match that you want. Bam, 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 bam. I do see Jimmy's comment there. People complain about all the titles WWE has, so when does that become an issue on AEW programming?
It already has, in my eyes.
I would say it has.
Agreed.
But there's also, I think, a degree of perspective on the way they're being managed. And that is that often when we talk about WWE's problem with managing titles, we look at things like the women's tag titles. They exist for the purpose of like a match on the pay-per-view at this point. They don't have developed storylines. There's titles getting kind of just left off
to be fair,
in the mud.
To be fair, the main reason a lot of people complain about WWE is because there's two shows. As long as WWE has a show on each network is going to demand its own champions. There's no point complaining about the fact that they've got those belts.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like before Mania came up, there was major concern on behalf of, I believe it was the USA Network, the fact that the potential that they were losing the top title.
Cody Rhodes is the only reason they're happy now.
Yeah, so that was a major point of concern for them.
Yeah.
Again, I do potentially envision it becoming a problem with AEW. Obviously, things are getting very, very like bulked at this point.
Yeah.
And we are still seeing the same problems like with the women's division, which we still have not been quiet about.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'm very interested in as well is, like, you know, you said it, Dan, and Nick, you said the same thing. Ring of Honor is there for a developmental program. Who's going to develop them? They haven't got no development system. They haven't got nothing like that. And, you know, we know we've seen Dark and stuff like that, but how many people have we seen nearly break their necks on Dark, you know, and things? It's like, they need to, you know, Tony Khan needs to really think about this and start thinking about...
This comes with the thing of, obviously, how will ROH operate under the banner? Because we don't know any details on if any ROH staff are carrying over. If ROH staff are carrying over, then I'm sure part of the organizational part will be run on that side.
For me, a big mistake that Tony Khan has made, and I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on this because the Blackpool Combat Club is really popular, but William Regal should not have been used as an on-TV talent in AEW. William Regal should have been used as a behind-the-scenes talent as managing Ring of Honor.
He can be used as both, Nick. There's no reason why he couldn't. Do you know what I mean? And that's now that they've got him there, it's just they've got to use him now. But anyway, let's move on. WWE announced pay-per-view. I don't care what anyone says. Premium live event pay-per-view in the UK. First one, first stadium show in 30 years. Anybody who starts quoting Resurrection at me can go and do one that wasn't a pay-per-view.
No, they can get sod off.
We haven't had a pay-per-view in 30 years. You guys
don't care about like WWF Insurrection?
Or Capital Carnage.
Right, Insurrection and Rebellion were just house shows with a glorified name.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're getting our first one in 30 years anyway, guys. Everybody keeps saying, I know WWE are here next month. They're coming over for a few house shows, which, believe it or not, are going to be headlined by Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to think that we're going to get that match at at the WWE pay-per-view UK. What's your thoughts, Dan?
I mean, it's really a point of problem for me, because I'm sure that they can do great stuff if they do decide to run that program, although I don't expect them to. I don't know that Drew versus Roman is exactly what you would want for this. I mean, obviously, I understand the rationale behind putting so much stock in Drew, because apparently he has personally been campaigning for this behind the scenes. And I'm sure, to be honest, like, a lot of British people will probably respond quite positively to it. But also, like, we're looking at a point in WWE now. Oh my god. We're looking at a point in WWE now where I feel like, how do I say this in the most tactful way? The attention is Roman.
Yeah.
That's it. If it doesn't have Roman, people are going to be like, well, what was the point?
Do you want me to tell you what I think is going to be the main event?
Go ahead.
Drew McIntyre versus somebody for the Intercontinental belt.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's face it, WWE love to repeat history. WWE love to repeat history. The main event of SummerSlam 92 was Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog for the Intercontinental Championship.
Well,
the idea of having the IC title in the main event. Oh, go on. I'm curious now.
I have the inside scoop. They're actually reviving the European title for him. So.
Interesting. I'd rather see him have the Intercontinental. I'm a bit of a nostalgic person myself, so I wouldn't mind seeing him get that. Elsewhere on that, see that card. We're going to see Roman. Cena is due back in June. Do you think he hangs around till September?
I think it's a potential. It's a potential option. Although I feel like more likely he'd be there on media rather than.
I think he comes out for it.
Yeah.
Another thing that interests me, or kind of, this was just something I was thinking the other day, is, do we see The Rock there? Now, hang on a minute. Before anyone says anything or says I'm just dreaming or whatever else, right? The Rock is about to launch the XFL in 2023, yeah?
Yeah.
So obviously he's going to be popping around everywhere trying to get as much exposure for this XFL as possible. Now,
the XFL, which I'd like to add, are having games played in the UK.
Yes.
So what would be the best place for The Rock to come over and get some really top quality free publicity for his product?
Yeah, no, I mean it's a shout. Do we know if he also happens to have a movie coming out along the same time, and he might be on Graham Norton or something?
Yeah, but that's the thing. But we could be around that doing the media rounds, and if he's there, we're not going to see him wrestle or anything like that. But come out, have a little thing. Don't forget to check out the NFL, the XFL.
Be like, hey, I'm here in the UK. It's so great. XFL.
To fantasy book it. At the moment, Cody Rhodes has just been signed with WWE. Everybody is under the impression that Cody is going to win the title by SummerSlam. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think the main event of the pay-per-view will be the Intercontinental title with Drew versus, say, I don't know, Nakamura, for example. Depending on who IC champ is at the time. But I honestly believe that Cody Rhodes will win WWE Championship at that pay-per-view. And then The Rock will come out after Roman has lost that match and confront Roman. It makes sense. One, it puts more eyes on the product. Two, this is a big deal. This pay-per-view is massive for us. It is a big deal for the WWE. As you've said, it's been 30 years since they've done something in this scope over here. You want this. They need this pay-per-view to pop off. Right? It needs to be I hate to say it, but a premium product that draws in attention. You can't just have house show matches. If you put Cody versus Roman on as the main event, as well as Drew versus X, for the
it won't be true. It won't be true, Cody. I think. Cody versus Roman. I think Roman will be there, but I think he'll be the first match on. Alex has just made a good point. They might bring Tyson Fury in for McIntyre.
Please no.
It could happen,
Please
though. You know what I mean? Whether that main event or not, it's definitely possible because Fury fights next week, doesn't he? And Joshua doesn't fight for another month or two, so it's possible.
He's got Dillian White, but there's a good chance Dillian White knocks Fury out.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. No way the IC title headlines anything with how well they treat the belt, says Jimmy. Do you know what though, Jim? You say that, right? But how often can WWE spin something around and make it important after about a week or two build? They've done they think in the head.
Let's be real for a second. How much does WWE like a nostalgia pop?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nostalgia is the ultimate drug.
Yeah. I tell you what else would be for. I tell you what I'll call it now. Yeah, the Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, the Celtic Clash.
I like that. I like that. It's a match we've seen a dozen times, but I still like that.
I like the idea. I don't know that I trust them to do it tactfully, though.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? That's what we've got. I think Butch will probably have a big part in it by that point as well, and we've got Walter as well. Gunford as he is now. And as you know, Alex said there, it'll be a universal title match they may introduce for the new world title for Raw. They're gonna introduce a new world title before long. Before then, we will have another world title.
Because I assume the USA Network are just in their offices punching at air right now.
Oh mate, do you know? It's not gonna last, is it?
No, USA have made it public knowledge for the last 5 years that we're paying X amount for your product. We expect our own champion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look how long Becky Two Belts lasted for, what, a month?
Yeah.
Like, it lasted for a month. There's no way in hell Roman is keeping both those titles for the next year unless they introduce a new championship. Preferably Big Goldie. We can all hope.
I mean,
they bring Goldie back for Raw.
Dreams, but I don't know. I feel like whenever I do these discussions, I always feel like I'm just so aggressively jaded at this point.
Well, it looks like the USA deal, I believe. I don't know whether, Alex, you can check that out for me, but I'm sure it's due to end in the not too distant future. So, you know, they'll probably have to do something.
I think so.
Something like that. So they'll have to appease them at some point. And also, anybody else who's looking to buy in there, like, well, you've got one champion that is predominantly on Fox. You'd even had that champion come out and said the other week, you know, tune into Fox to see what I've got to say. You know what I mean? They actually come up when he come out on Raw, on the Raw After Mania, and said, tune in Friday night and I'll tell you what I'm going to say. And it's like, you know, there's got to be some kind of like, you know, if you're a network looking to purchase that, or something like that, you're like, no, we need our own champion here. You know, it could even be the fact that we get when Cena comes back, he wins a belt, keeps hold of it, and then you'd have Cena Drew at the UK pay-per-view, because none of them need to, you know, Drew will be a baby face anyway. Cena doesn't need to, you know, Cena's been up against baby faces before, and it doesn't necessarily hamper him.
Well, John,
and then that way it's a way to get the belt back up. It gets Cena to get his world championship records win in June, and then we get the belt back off him in September. So, you know, and it gives Drew a really good name on his record, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it really does.
You know? Or if you want to go the other way and have the other thing you could do a total swerve, and you could have, say, Cena versus Drew at the UK pay-per-view. Drew wins, and whoever won the Money in the Bank cashes in on him afterwards.
Let me ask. That'd be interesting. Let me ask you a question, though.
I think the thing is, people. Sorry, Nick, just let me go with this one for a minute, because people will, as soon as they announce a match, if Drew is in a title match, people expect him to win, right?
Yeah.
So I think the pop will be there for it, but then the pop, if somebody won the Money in the Bank and come out and cashed it in, would be just boom. Do you know what I mean? And that would just pop the cherry right on the top of it.
I mean, that would be a really good route for pushing someone in as a new heel champion. But like again, I feel like that's really dependent on them following through with that idea.
But also, if they're looking to make this a yearly thing, Nick, or they could be, because from what I've read on TalkSport and a few other outlets is, and these aren't wrestling outlets either, these are just mainstream outlets, is they've turned around and said that the pre-sale has already turned over 64,000 tickets on pre-sale, which is more than what WrestleMania has done, any WrestleMania has done. So would he not want to make a statement on this, Nick, to maybe look at future? If they can get a revenue by doing this show every year, they do it, would they not?
Oh, yeah. Well, the fact is, the only reason Vince didn't carry on after SummerSlam 92 was back in the day, it didn't make enough money in the States. SummerSlam 92 made Booker bucks over here, but it didn't make enough money in the US. It's different now. With everyone having the ability to record television, watch it whenever they want. The WWE Network allows you to watch a pay-per-view 2 days after it's been aired, whatever. People in America do not have to watch the show live to make money off it anymore. No. In my opinion, it behooves Vince to have a show in this country. The UK, we've got such rabid, loyal fans. We love the product. We adore everything that is done in wrestling, and we've been clamoring for this for years. Having this as a regular occurrence, it's only going to make money, because, as you say, they've already pre-sold over 60,000 tickets, more than WrestleMania. There is no way in hell Vince McMahon hasn't looked at that and gone, "Oh, hang on, really? We've sold that many tickets already? Money, thank you very much."
Jinder faces thingy tonight, doesn't he, as well, for the IC Championship?
Yes.
And then actually Heath returns at the UK pay-per-view, and it's the three-man band reunion.
Okay, let me ask you this as well, guys, right? So just to move on. So yeah, I think they're going to make it really good. I don't believe unless they do something big at this pay-per-view, it wouldn't be a yearly thing, because I don't think they'd sell it out constantly. Yeah. If they do something like a Money in the Bank cash-in or something out in ordinary, then I could see them going, "Oh, well, then it could happen at this," and they have to be there every year. Go on, Nick.
Let me ask you this. Do they have the United Kingdom Championship as the main event on this pay-per-view?
No.
No.
Not a chance.
I question whether or not WWE, like corporate, remembers that NXT UK exists.
You'll get a few matches on there, I believe.
I would love it, because, like, I love it.
I think there'll be a takeover on the Sunday night in Cardiff. I'm actually probably going to stay there.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't forget, way back before all hell broke loose with the world, Takeover Cardiff was meant to happen.
It was, and Dublin with Belfast. I can't remember which one it was. One of the Irish ones.
They also had another one planned at Blackpool.
Okay, let me just ask you something though, just to go on to something a bit different now before we wrap up today's pod. Jinder Mahal's being announced tonight for an IC Championship match against Ricochet, right? Do you think this is a direct response from WWE to AEW's new Indian star?
Potentially. Yes. It seems like it, let me just say, this seems like such a Vince McMahon move.
What do you think, Alex? I think it's definitely. It's just too much of a coincidence to be anything else but that.
There's no way in hell that Vince just suddenly decided to give Jinder a title shot. Like, there's no way in hell. The fact is, Samil Singh just debuted on Dynamite. Right, this is out of Vince McMahon's playbook 2020. It's just, they're doing something, counterattack. Yeah, we have to do something to countermand it.
Straight up.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting anyway to see how they go with all this stuff. I think we get a new ice set up. Yeah, there we go.
Does anyone not feel a bit sorry?
Yeah, there we got Alex there in India.
In India because he is not Indian. Okay.
Yeah, he's Canadian.
Yeah, he's Canadian.
Jinder's Canadian, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got Indian roots, as you know, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
His parents are both Indian, but he was born and raised in Canada.
Yeah, if this IC Championship match doesn't work tonight, watch Vince break the glass on the emergency Carly.
Yeah, this is just like, in case of emergency, get Carly.
We have a giant 7'1" ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe IC title?
Honestly, does nobody else just feel a bit sorry for Ricochet?
Yes.
At the moment? Like, I don't believe now. hang on, hear me out.
Question.
Hear me out. I don't think Ricochet should ever have had a championship in WWE.
No.
I think Ricochet as himself is an attraction, the same way Rey Mysterio was an attraction for WCW. He doesn't need a championship. He just needs to go out there, have flippy matches, and do things that nobody else can do. See, the fact that he's made him IC title
be my counterpoint, which is that one thing that WWE hasn't always been great on is sometimes there are wrestlers that just don't need titles just because you're going to go and see them because of who they are. And things like if you want to throw them around the IC title scene, that's whatever, right? At least with how WWE's been treating it in the past however many years. But things like people like Ricochet, but then also to a lesser extent people like wrestlers like The Fiend, they don't need a title. They can just do cool and weird stuff and just 100%. Let them be, and they'll be fine.
That's why I don't feel sorry for Ricochet, because I don't think Ricochet could carry a belt. Unfortunately, just the way he is, and that he's the one that decided to be that type of wrestler.
It also comes with the whole thing of US wrestling. They don't have junior heavyweight branches, so you can't get things like that.
No. To quote Jake the Snake, championships are there to make stars. If you don't need them, don't use them. Ricochet doesn't need a title. Ricochet's ability and in-ring skill is what gets him over. He doesn't need a championship to go, oh, look, I'm a flippy guy.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer in the US needing to adopt cruiserweight/junior heavyweight branches, but that's just me.
Agreed.
Because I watch a lot of Japanese wrestling. It's a huge thing over there. I think they should be doing it, but again, that comes down to your style and preference, because I'm so used to having people in my comments being like, hey, flippy guy, and then just that's it.
I mean, one thing I'll say there, Jimmy's just put he isn't losing the belt. We're not saying he's definitely going to lose it tonight, but the thing is, we're just saying about how underwhelmed we've been with his whole title run, and he's not really a guy to put a belt on, is he? Let's face it. What's this? Just Nikki AHS dethroned Ronda at UK pay-per-view. Could happen, no, Alex, but the thing is,
to be fair, though, Alex, that would be based, and WWE won't do that.
No, but the thing is, they could, if there's still enough time between now and September for Nikki to be repackaged and given a proper, kind of gimmick going into the UK pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which would be quite cool.
No, Ronda losing would be the cool option, and WWE won't be doing that.
Yeah. How long do you think it'll be before they go and sign David Hart Jr.? David Smith.
Oh. Well, he's working for. He's signed with somebody else at the moment.
No, didn't they sign him?
No, they signed him and then they released him.
And then they released him again.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if they went and got him back.
Didn't he?
No, it wouldn't surprise me
if
he got a contract with anyone. No, he's not. He's a free agent at the moment, except for MLW.
Yeah, I think you might see Bret Hart back for it and stuff. Because that, would be cool to have him there, wouldn't it? Considering he was the one.
Of course, it would.
The headline, and what's called it. You know what Bret's like? He loves them nostalgia pops himself, doesn't he? And he likes
you're bloody right. He does.
Part of history, so wouldn't surprise to see him there and pop out and go, "I was here 20, 30 years ago in London."
Yeah, maybe Bret will be the host of the show.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. Yeah. And Natalia will come out and go, well, I'm a Hart.
No,
you're not. You're a Neidhart and a waste of space.
And then we'll have a 10-minute match, which will be, technically sound, but visually uninteresting.
Is anybody else a bit pissed off that Natty's in NXT 2.0?
I don't mind.
I am so confused about the product at this point. I don't even know.
To be honest with Natalie, I just don't care. That's the problem with it. I just don't care. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't care about it. So, what and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Apathy, the worst possible response in wrestling.
I just look at it and go,
Alex, please
never going to happen. No. Do not put that into the universe, Alex. I just look at Natalia and just think she's just a Klingon. You know what I mean? She's just a WWE Klingon who's just there because she's a Hart. And it's been there.
You know what the sad thing is? The sad thing is, Natalia's had some cracking matches. She really has. The one against Charlotte in NXT stands out above all the others for me. But ever since that point, it's just been downhill.
I mean,
Like,
to be fair, though, the problem is, though, that was a good match, right? But ever since then, she just does the same moves again. That discus clothesline. Right.
Exactly.
No,
it's the worst discus clothesline in the universe because she pirouettes, she stops, and then she hits them with the clothesline.
I've basically said that, like, she had her time and was great for that, and was like a great anchor and a great point for that, like, that period of development. But like, that time has passed now.
Yeah, definitely. I think they just need to, but she's an ambassador, and she's a bit like Titus O'Neil, isn't she?
Yeah.
Just good to have around because they're just good with the corporate side of things and whatnot. So we'll leave it to it. Last one before we go, then, just because with the bloodline, Alex just made a good point there, bringing Noah up. Don't think you put both belts on him because Roman just wouldn't. He'd have more belts than Roman, then, which wouldn't be good. But bring him onto the main roster and put one thing on him, or if you have the Usos win the Raw Tag Team Championships, you've got Roman as the Universal, and then you put the NXT Championship on Sokoa, then you've got all of them. The Bloodline are locking down all three
I'd agree with that.
three shows, all three brands. Just on the Bloodline story, and probably may never happen, but something like that. Simone Johnson, she's been in the Performance Center for a long time now. Do we see her coming up anytime soon? I'm not saying to the main roster, even to NXT.
Maybe. I mean, have to keep an eye on, like, was it NXT Level Up or whatever it is now?
She hasn't even, but the thing with her was she apparently, like, she won all awards in the Performance Center and stuff. So just, I think it's a matter of time now, isn't it? Whether we get to see it or not. And I think,
but then, because, like, hearing the past stories where there's people who have been, like, in the PC, and then all the coaches have been like, oh, this person's so good, this person's so good, this, like, and they just never get anywhere.
Yeah, but none of them are the Rock's daughter.
I was gonna say, exactly. So that's the counterpoint.
Yeah, she's gonna. I think I don't know why, but for a long while I thought she's got a part to play in this Bloodline story somewhere. For some reason, she's got a part to play.
I've thought for a long time that the Bloodline could use. I thought for a long time the Bloodline could use a female member.
Well, I thought they were going to bring in Naomi.
I know she's not blood.
Well, that makes sense.
No,
she's not blood. She's just married into the family. If you bring in the Rock's daughter, it's literally blood.
And
if no one's thinking about this, what if Roman brings in the Rock's daughter?
Yeah,
and then the Rock comes in because he doesn't like the way Roman is manipulating her. There has to be a reason for the Rock to show up. The Rock's daughter is the perfect reason.
I just think she's got
them to use someone to fill the space.
I've just got a feeling that she's, Jimmy's just said it there, she's got to have an interaction with the Rock, but I just feel like she's got a part to play in this whole Bloodline Rock storyline. Do you know what I mean?
Interference on Rock versus Roman at Mania.
There's got to be something. Something for her there. There's definitely something for her. I just don't know.
I can see her being brought in as part of the Bloodline, pushed to the World Championship. The Usos help her. The Usos and Roman help her win the World Championship. She's the champion for a certain amount of time. Roman starts treating her like one of her lackeys. I can then see the Rock coming in and being like, "Whoa, that's my daughter. She is nobody's lackey."
Like what he done with Jey Uso, where he beat him up and all like that. He could do something similar with her, couldn't he?
Yeah, very similar.
That's tough love and then thingy. Well, anyway, let us know in the comment section, guys, what you all think and stuff like that about what could happen with Simone Johnson. It's just something I'm really paying attention to. But that's the end of today's podcast. So, Nick, Chinwag Dan, or Adolf Dan, as we like to call him, Adolf Chinwag. Nice one. And thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back to tomorrow. Matty will be back with his series, Meet the Wrestle Buddies. Sunday, we're going to be back with the quiz finale as well. And then for all your wrestling news, check out WrestleBuddy.com and also check out the YouTube channel because we have stuff going on every day. Don't forget to go over and check out the Sweet Chinwag podcast as well with Dan. Awesome. Listen and make sure you go and support them guys as well. But from us, until next time, same place next week. Take care.
Bye.